Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another Street Epistemology call-in show. Today, I've got Lisa, Dali, and Gomeo, and I'm Reid from Cordial Curiosity. Hey, everybody.
Hello.
Hello.
How's everybody?
Great.
Very well.
I'm
Good.
good. I'm good.
Awesome.
Yep. Yeah. So today
What are we
we're
doing
taking
here
your
today?
claims, your questions about SE. Yeah. Glad to be here. Feel free to click the link in the chat or the description to call in, and we can talk about all things SE or practice SE with one of your claims.
Indeed. Anybody can call in. We'll almost let anybody in.
Yes.
So I've had a very successful day. I've already achieved goals. They were trivial goals that my son had, so that was, it was easy, but yay, I win.
10 points
10 points, yes.
and a gold star. Good job.
Mm.
Can I plug my meetup group while we're waiting?
Please.
Okay. Yeah, just for anybody who's in Salt Lake City or visiting Salt Lake City, we have a meetup group on meetup.com where we do street epistemology at least twice a month on Saturdays usually, and then we add in a couple other meetings here and there. So if anybody's in Salt Lake City, join our group. It has been so much fun. And there's new beginners every time, new people, just learning street epistemology. We practice together and we are slowly getting better a little bit at a time. So anyways, I just want to throw that out there. Join the group. And if you want to start your own group, contact me. I'll help you get you going because we need more of these groups around too. It's a lot of fun to share it with our friends and family. Yeah, there's some people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Already at 141. That's great.
Yeah, every day it goes up a couple more. And it's starting to grow. I only have one event planned up right now. I'm going to put some more up tomorrow. So be looking for more. We'll get the rest of August going. And what's after that? September. It'll be here
Awesome.
before you know it. Yeah. So we meet at a library usually.
I was wondering.
Yep. So we just reserve a meeting room at the library. It's free.
Mm-hmm.
And we just have to have a local library card.
Mm-hmm.
You just
It's easy enough.
Mm-hmm. Show up.
That's easy enough. Mm-hmm.
It's fantastic. So join our group. That's my plug.
Yay. If I'm in Salt Lake, I definitely want to see if I can.
Yes.
I think that would be much fun.
It would be super fun.
I don't have immediate plans to be in Salt Lake, but there's road trips happening. There's road trips being.
It's on the way to a lot of places.
It really is.
So,
It really is. It's easy to swing through Utah.
although you're in Southern California, right? So
I
you
am.
might go like through Vegas and the south route. But
Yeah, there'd be lots of options. It depends on where I'm going.
Yeah.
Who I'm visiting. Parisia, I am also enjoying the Kendi series, or the current series from Bogosian. I think that what I've been seeing lately is full on SE quality group standing on lines. It's Spectrum SE, and I like it. I think it rocks, and I really appreciate how neutral he's managing to be. So
I've got those on my to watch list. I can't wait. Yeah, looking forward to that.
Yeah, you can wait. You must wait. You may not leave right now.
I'll wait a couple of hours.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I do know somebody who might call in, and if you are listening or watching, now would be a good time. And you know who you are.
Oh.
Just throwing that out there.
Does his name start with an M?
It does. Yes.
Okay, great.
Let's
maybe him.
Hello, Morgan.
Hello. Am I in?
Yes. You are live.
Okay. Cool. How's it going?
Oh, good.
Morgan, can I tell them who you are?
Let's
No
not.
pressure.
Okay.
It's all good.
All
You're
right.
Morgan. We know
Morgan's
that.
somebody I know.
Okay.
Leave it at
You're
that.
familiar with Morgan.
Yeah.
Good.
He's cool.
So, Morgan, do you have a claim? Would you like us to have a claim? Do you want to talk about SE? What's up?
I do have a claim that I think would be good.
Mm-hmm.
I have written down the wording that I wanted to use.
Okay.
Okay, I feel like in a perfect world, we wouldn't have animals as pets.
Okay.
And this is an idea I've not interrogated too much about myself, but it's something that I think. So this is maybe a good time to interrogate it.
Sure. Okay, and that's the claim.
It's something you've thought a lot about.
I wouldn't say I've thought a lot about it, but it like pops in my head every now and then when people talk about vegetarian issues or vegan issues, or I think about like I own a cat, and so I think what would be his best life, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And I think humans have sort of bred pets into being dependent on them. And I think maybe if we hadn't done that, they'd be more independent, they'd be more self-sufficient. Like right now, if I let my pet out into the wild, he'd die very quickly. That's probably not ideal.
Yeah, that's the case with all of my pets too. That they would not survive. They would not survive unless I keep them from leaving.
It's a lot of pets.
And take care of them. Yeah.
Yeah, indeed. So, what does it mean to have an animal as a pet?
That's a good question. I think an animal is a pet when you have some sort of mutual relationship with it. Yeah, I don't know. Does it require you to feed or take care of them, or does it just require you to be around them a lot? That's a good question. I'm not sure.
So if I have a horse in the meadow next door and they feed themselves with grass, could they be my pet?
Yeah.
I
don't know. I think maybe if you spend a lot of time with this horse, they live in the same space as you. I think maybe that could be considered a pet.
Okay. Good. Does anybody else have any questions? I don't want to dominate.
I think you're doing a good job.
Well, thank you.
Is it possible to live in a perfect world?
No, I don't think it is. And that's part of why I still have my cat. If I was holding myself to perfect world morality, I would be a big hypocrite right now.
So the morality that's the best right now is not the same as the morality that would be in the perfect world?
I don't think so, because I don't think we live in a perfect world.
Okay.
We already live somewhere where pets have grown dependent on us, right? So they need people to take care of them.
Yeah.
At this point in time, I think it's better to take care of them than it is to, throw them all out into the wild and see what happens.
James says animals as a family member is a pet. Would you include that in your definition?
I think so. Yeah, if they're close enough that you feel like they are family to you, I think for sure.
Yeah, around my house we call them our fur family or our feather family.
Yeah,
so
I think I like that.
Yeah. What differentiates this world from a perfect world? What would be different in that perfect world besides whether we have pets?
I think a perfect world would require a large amount of cooperation from both humans and animals in a way that's unfeasible. We'd all have to be continuously making decisions that better everyone. And not only will people not do that because they have their own interests at heart sometimes? I feel like people are like literally incapable of that. We don't have a perfect knowledge of everything. We can't know everyone's needs at all times.
Yeah.
So it's just literally not possible.
Yeah, I think that's why that for myself, my pets very much. I'm the one with all the power. I'm the one making all the decisions, except for like whether they're sleeping now or not. You know, they have freedoms within a section, but I'm making all the decisions, and it's because I can't communicate with them. I can't ask them what they want. I can't negotiate a contract. I can't make an agreement with them. The most I can do is train them through play to respect boundaries or something.
Yeah, right. Like I think I would say that I can enter into agreements with my cat to some extent, right? But it's extremely limited what things he can agree upon.
What can a cat agree upon? What kind of
Well,
agreements
for
do you
instance,
have?
if I'm taking him to the vet, he knows because it's the only time I put him in his carrier. But I can give him food inside the carrier, and he'll begrudgingly go inside. And you know, I don't know exactly to what extent he understands what he's agreeing to, but the way that he immediately shifts his behavior and demeanor when he sees the carrier means that, like, I think he at least knows what that means. To some extent.
There's associations made.
Yeah.
I had a cat.
Possibly.
She was allowed to be taken to the boat, and she didn't like the carrier at all. She really howled about the carrier, but we put her in the car, take her to the boat, and she'd hang out on the boat with us, and then she'd have to carry her back home. And three or four visits in, she saw us trying to leave, and she hid. And so she effectively got to adopt herself to staying on the boat. We all recognized, oh, she would prefer to stay on the boat because when she's home, she's hanging out in the carrier hoping that we'll take her. And when she's on the boat, she's hiding away from the carrier. So she's made a choice. And we let her have that choice. She moved to the boat. And she lived out her last 3 years or so of her life on the boat. Had a great time.
Yeah, I think things like that animals can make decisions about for sure. Where they live, what they want to eat, what their boundaries are with like affection.
So, in this perfect world, would we understand their needs?
I think you'd have to, yeah.
Okay. So the perfect world includes a lot better communication with our pets or with our animals, because at that point they might be something else.
That's true.
Yeah. So until we have a perfect world, I know this isn't your claim. Your claim is in the perfect world. If we want to make our world more perfect, would we deal with our pets differently?
Yeah. I think communication is an important thing to touch on, because I think that's what can be lacking in certain pet relationships I know people have in real life. I think some people see their pets as objects, almost, for lack of a better word, and they don't invest the amount of time to understand them and what they can communicate with their pet about. And other people do make the effort, and they tend to be better pet owners, I think. So I guess, if we were striving for a more perfect world, it would be like step one in getting a pet is learning how to communicate as best to your ability as you can with your pet.
Cool. Yeah.
So since we don't live in a perfect world and we can't live in a perfect world, is it okay that we all have animals as pets now? Like, should we change our behavior?
Yeah, I think so, because we have so many animals that are dependent on us at this point. It's sort of become our responsibility to take care of them.
And if we didn't have animals as pets, Would that be closer to a perfect world?
I think at the very least we would be interfering less with animals. And so I guess I could say that we have less blame for anything that goes wrong with them.
Mm-hmm.
Like how certain dog breeds have health issues from like years of inbreeding that humans did to them. You could say that humans, I mean, I don't think it's that controversial to say that humans did that, and that they're sort of at fault for that.
Yeah, pugs.
Yeah,
Pugs especially, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Indeed.
I know a lot less about dogs than I do about cats. So
Yeah.
Yeah, it's okay. I think it generally applies. I don't think their psychology is all that different.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Cool.
how sure are you that this is true?
Maybe 65%.
Okay. And what kind of information would make you more sure? What kind of information would you find compelling in the direction of your claim?
I think if I knew better, I guess just on a large scale, what do animals prefer? Because I think as a pet owner, I feel biased in feeling like, well, yeah, my pet loves me and loves being around me, but we don't know exactly what they think and what they feel. So I think both ways, it's like,
I will report that in this moment, I tried to grab one of my pets, and he declined to come to the show.
You didn't force him?
That definitely happened.
No, Miles said, no, not right now. Not feeling it. Nope.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Yeah. Got a mind of their own.
In the world that we currently live in the near future, should owning pets be illegal anywhere?
I don't think anything as general as owning pets should ever be illegal. But I think it would certainly not hurt if certain animals were not able to be kept in captivity. Has anybody here seen Tiger King? Because you think you might know where I'm going with this if you've seen Tiger King.
I haven't seen it, but I've heard about it.
Yeah, but wild animals that are not yet really domesticated have issues in captivity, both for the people taking care of them and themselves. And I don't know what the law is around those things right now, but it seems like it'd be better if we just left things like tigers alone. It seems like they don't want to be in cages, and it's not really good for people or them if they are.
Not try to domesticate more wild animals.
Yeah, I guess that's what I'm really getting at, right? Is like we shouldn't seek to create more domesticated pets and animals.
Okay. So this brings up a question from the audience. What about animal husbandry? And I assume by this, we don't mean any sort of a joke. Ooh, did we lose?
Oh, did it cut out?
I think we lost Morgan. Morgan
Oopsie.
disconnected. I hope it wasn't a question I said. Anyway, but so the question is, what about people having relationships with animals? There's Morgan.
Yeah, sorry, technical difficulty.
I think
That's fine. What about animal husbandry? Okay, yes, I know there's a dirty joke fit to it, so I'm going to just take the straight thing and say, what about farming of animals? What about relationships with animals that are not personal and are exploitative because I want to eat meat?
Yeah.
Is that allowed in the perfect world, or is it allowed here?
I'm getting a lot of echo. Hold on. I think it needs
Do you
to
have
switch
two tabs open or something? Might have two tabs open.
The other one might have reopened.
That's good.
Could have.
Yeah, I accidentally closed the browser window. We're good.
Okay, cool.
Animal husbandry, I think, is something I don't know quite enough about, but I strongly believe that if we're going to keep animals as livestock,
Mm-hmm.
They need to be taken care of while they are alive, and they need to have good lives while they're there. And I think it would help if they didn't have a pet relationship with the people that were taking care of them, but also
It would
I
help
don't know
if
enough about
people. I'm sorry, if people did not have relationships with the animals that are like the example that I
Yeah.
ate this morning.
Yeah, I feel like it would be better if the animals were kind of like in an enclosure where they could just do whatever they would naturally do, and people stay out of their business while they're being raised as livestock.
So it's an advantage to the animal not to be burdened with a human relationship. Is what I'm hearing. If that animal is for food.
I think it could be, but I also think I could be wrong.
What's your confidence level on that?
Pretty low, maybe like 25%.
Oh,
Okay.
so there could be some benefit to interacting with humans.
I think so. I mean, yeah, animals have like social, like they're social to some degree. Animals that are domesticated, interact with humans because on some level they enjoy it, right? So I guess I don't know enough about their psychology to know what's exactly best for them.
Do you think a pet's life is better than a pig that dies in an abattoir?
100%, yes.
Okay.
An average farm, is that what you said?
I said abattoir, meaning that they went to a slaughterhouse.
Oh, okay. Well, yes, my answer is still the same, but
Okay. So the pet's life is better. Cool. So my last question, hypothetically, what could you learn that would reduce your confidence in the main claim? And that is, in a perfect world, we wouldn't have animals as pets. What can make you less certain than 60-something%?
I think if there was a way that we could have the same type of emotional connection with animals without making them wholly dependent on us, I think if there was like a clear game plan for that, that would definitely reduce my confidence quite a bit.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah, fair.
Thank you. Do you have any questions for us?
None that come to mind.
Okay. There were lots of questions in the comments. And the thing is, we have somebody else in the green room. So,
For sure.
Dex, could you show me between E and pi fingers? Anyway, thank you, Morgan. Thank you for coming and
Thanks
bringing
for calling.
And
Yeah, thanks for having me.
call again.
Yeah.
Thank you much.
All right.
See ya.
Peace out.
So, Dax, no camera, I bet. No camera?
No camera? No.
No microphone? Dax, you're muted. Hello, Dax?
Oh, hey, I just saw that there was a live stream happening. Is there another link? Because I just wanted to spectate. I didn't want to do SE right now.
Oh, okay, that's fine. The YouTube link.
Okay.
Where did you
I only
find
got
this?
the StreamYard link. Okay.
Yeah. Are you watching us on YouTube as well?
No, I'm only watching you on StreamYard. Let me fix that. Thank you anyway.
We're on the Street Epistemology
Thanks,
YouTube
Dax.
channel. It's the best spot.
Yep.
Mhm.
Thank you much, Dax. Okay. So there was a bunch of Adrian Pineta during that made a claim. Adrian, if you'd like, you can bring this forward and we can talk about it. And I think you also had a counterclaim. Let's see. Okay, for the first claim was the closest to free you can be in a current world is leaving society. So those that invoke personal freedom for refusing to participate in activities to reduce suffering are wrong from the start. Huh. There's two claims in there. Okay. Let's see. The other one. And a related claim, if you leave society, the impetus to investigate reality farther than your own experience feelings becomes dull or almost non-existent. Okay, so if you're not in society, you have no desire for research. Okay. I can understand that claim. Hello. First time you've caught this live. Cool. You can come and talk with us directly if that suits your interests.
Hi, Abe. Yeah, I saw a question in chat that I've been wondering about lately. Inevitable. I'm not sure how to put it up there. Are right-handers unconsciously biased against left-handers? There it is. Yeah. I've been wondering that lately because there's so much right-handed everything. I'm right-handed, so I don't even think about it. But,
okay.
Yeah, I've been wondering that. I have no idea.
I am carefully ambidextrous.
Carefully?
Yeah, as a juggler, I learned to make sure that my left hand can do everything my right hand claims to know how to do.
At equal?
No, not at equal proficiency.
Skill or proficiency?
No, when I'm writing left-handed, I'm about a fourth grader. But I can feed myself with chopsticks left-handed and the other such things. I refuse to have something that my left hand can't do.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, I work in a medical lab, and I've been doing this really intricate training things like under a microscope where I need both hands. So I'm really conscious of using my left hand and how awkward it is, but I'm still like pushing through it. Like it's possible.
I use scissors in the kitchen a lot.
With
and
right
I don't
hand?
have and I don't have left-handed scissors, so this is like the commoner. They mock how they can't use a manual can opener as easily. Maybe it's cross-handed. I don't know if you were trying to do that. I don't know.
Comments. People comment, mock how you can't use a manual can opener. That's funny. Got nothing else to mock you for, I guess. That's quite a stretch. You must be pretty amazing.
I'm right-handed, but your right hand is mostly numb. Oh, was that an injury of some sort? That's like, ooh, that'd be a big loss for me.
Is there a scripture in the Bible about left-handed being something? Seems like I
have to look that up.
Oh, no.
Was told that.
And left to right handwriting alone is a problem. Well, just learn Hebrew.
Problem solved.
Yeah.
That's a simple one. God put your hands on backwards.
Yeah. A physicist was saying, so if you manage to communicate everything you can with an alien race, and then they show up and everything you expect is left-handed versus right, don't shake their hand. They might be made of antimatter. I don't know if that, but chiral tree and okay, the physics joke.
I'm gonna write that down.
What do I think about the only remedy to past discrimination is present discrimination? I just saw that. Actually, I think I've seen that 2 or 3. Reid, do you know how many of those have been presented yet on Peter Boghossian's channel?
I think 5 of them. I think we have 6 total.
I see. So that number 5 is the 5th time that particular thing has come up. Yeah. Now, if you're asking us to answer, we can certainly do that. Reid, would you like to pull up? Yes. Oh, fantastic. Reid has all the cool toys. And I suppose you'll have to move, though. Yeah. You can put me on disagree.
Same. I mostly disagree. Actually, put me in strongly disagree.
Is present discrimination. I don't know why that would be. I've given this 0 thought. So I'm leaning towards slightly. I'll go slightly disagree because that doesn't ring true immediately.
I will start with the pedantic. The only remedy, that's a false dichotomy. there has to be something about past discrimination that could be in some way helpful that isn't present discrimination.
So just the word only is an automatic no.
Yeah, that takes that knocks me over one line or two from neutral just by itself.
Because there might be other remedies.
Yeah.
Besides present discrimination.
Yeah, I'm hypersensitive to false dichotomies.
Always, never, only.
Yeah. Why doesn't that put you at strongly disagree? Because that's my reason for strongly disagreeing.
Okay. Because there are some present discriminations that are, to some degree, remedies to past discriminations.
So if it said a possible remedy to past discrimination.
Yes, yeah. If there are some remedies that are present discrimination that could be effective remedies toward past discrimination.
I'm leaning more towards disagree. Can you move me?
And that's why I'm not strongly disagree, because
what are the arguments for agreeing?
I'd also like to have discrimination defined for me, if that's at all possible, because I think there's negative discrimination and positive discrimination, right? And that might change where I sit in that line if it's defined.
The context of this claim comes from Ibram X. Kendi's How to Be an Anti-Racist, so probably the definition to go with is preferential treatment based on race would be an example.
Preferential treatment based on race.
Yeah. And I could probably accept a wider example based on race or origin or parentage or something like that. There might also be something that's not exactly race, but is still an attribute somebody had no control over. Now, what if I'm positively discriminating because I'm particular to, like, my husband is ginger. I like redheads. Is that me discriminating?
Yes.
Okay.
Not all discrimination is bad in all contexts.
Sure.
Is that a positive discrimination?
Yeah, it is. I am.
It's a life based on a certain physiological characteristic.
Yeah. It's a minor thing.
I assume we don't need to, if there are good and bad forms of discrimination, the claim is the only remedy to past discrimination. If we're remedying something, it's probably a bad thing that happened in the past.
Yeah.
So it's probably constrained to.
It's an ailment that needs remedy.
So what would be, I guess, an example that Ibram X. Kendi would use in his book as part of this claim?
Slavery and Jim Crow.
Right. And how would we remedy that, according to him, in present day?
Affirmative action. And a constitutional amendment for anti-racism.
Yeah, affirmative action, mostly in the U.S., means preferential college admissions and.
Would that be present discrimination?
Support. Also, maybe quotas or a selective advantage in hiring.
Right, based on.
Based on racial characteristics, racial identity, or any number of other categories. Could be gender expression, could be a bunch of things.
But and then what do we say about if we're positively discriminating on race? What about the races that get negatively discriminated against in this present day? Do we then flip again in the future? Is it just a vicious kind of cycle that we ping pong between? How does that work?
I think you're describing the disagree position well.
Okay.
Yeah, because
would anybody like to steel man the other side? If somebody out in the world would like to come in and describe the other side, or else I can try. I don't know if I'm going to do it.
Can I move again? I want to go to strongly disagree. The more we talk about this, yeah, it just seems to make the most sense so far.
In the context of
10 minutes of thinking about it.
Yeah. Like, let's say, what would count as a good form of present discrimination to remedy what would be an example of a past discrimination that we could remedy? It would be a just good thing to do to presently discriminate.
I want to answer you with a comment from the audience. How would you feel about positive discrimination for people of lower incomes?
Yeah, what does that mean?
Well, pretty much anybody who's had past discrimination and has lost opportunities is probably going to end up on the lower income scale of things if they haven't had wealth in the past. So what if we have, I don't know, a sliding scale tax, and people that make less money pay proportionally less tax, and people who make more money pay proportionally more tax. And if you're poor enough, you even get public support. We like that?
What if?
I think
it exists. I think that's the system I'm in, and I like it. But go ahead.
What is the discrimination poor people have had in the past? Is it what do you mean by discrimination for poor people?
What opportunities do they lack?
Money.
What is discriminating against them?
If they make less money, you charge them less income tax. You make them less responsible for supporting the government and social programs.
So they have more disposable.
Is the claim the only remedy to past circumstances for poor, like bad circumstances for poor people, is present? We're getting away from discrimination in my mind here.
The commenter is not talking about how they got to lower incomes. It's not about
the why. Doesn't matter.
It's just positive discrimination for people of lower incomes.
Meaning they get more advantages because of their income status?
Yes.
I wouldn't call that discrimination.
Okay. Is it if I took the word discrimination out, would you say how would you feel about a graduated tax system for people of lower incomes? So I took discrimination out.
Then that's not discrimination?
I would argue it still is, but that's not important. I'm not married to the term. I don't know. Okay.
Okay.
Cool. Potentially.
I have the dictionary definition of discrimination. Do you want to hear that?
Please.
Sure.
The unjust or prejudicial treatment of different categories of people, things, especially on the grounds of race, age, or sex.
Unjust
or prejudicial treatment.
Okay, so that's a very negative kind of discrimination.
So 2 would be recognition and understanding of the difference between one thing and another. The discrimination between right and wrong. So that's a different usage of the word. But yeah, unjust, prejudicial, or prejudicial treatment.
Yep.
So is there such thing as a positive discrimination?
Well, not if unjust is part of the definition.
Right. It can't be.
You ruled it out.
Well, yeah. I discriminate against people when I'm swiping through dating apps.
Yes.
I'm discriminating.
Yeah.
But is that a fair thing to call discrimination, though, based on that definition?
No,
Well, that's against individuals, right? Not groups of people. I don't know.
Sometimes it's based on age and what is it? It definitely sex.
So that could be
sometimes I see males in my dating apps.
And if you're a straight guy, you're discriminating against males.
Yeah.
We're going on the record that Reid is heterosexual.
Yes. And Abe.
Are you looking for dates? Like,
Abe, do you have a camera that you're willing to share?
Yeah, feel free to show us some fingers.
Whichever fingers you can choose from amongst them, and
Yeah.
however that goes. Let's see. Yeah, Abe, you're backstage. You have a few points to get across, if that's okay. Yes, I think so in general.
About this claim or something else?
Abe is aha.
Is he there?
Okay.
Okay,
Here
he's
we
there.
go.
He's the person.
Hello, Abe. Welcome.
Oh boy.
Not welcome. Damn it.
Moving along.
He can come on with just audio.
No, he can't.
Oh no, I was looking away. What happened?
You missed. you missed a precious moment.
Oh great.
Oh, that was somebody impersonating Abe.
Very possibly. In any case,
Okay, cool.
yeah, we're not going to hold that against you, Abe. But no. Anyway,
Unjust. Back to that.
unjust. Yeah, if discrimination is by definition unjust, then I couldn't say that what we are doing is discrimination.
So
If-
Reid, your dating discrimination, that would be a just discrimination, right? Because you're discriminating based on what you like. Is there
Yeah,
anything unjust about that?
And I, for one, very much want to support Reid's identity as heterosexual.
Okay.
And so absolutely he has to be sexist when it comes to dating.
Mhm.
And
You get to choose who
I'm,
you
I'm-
date.
I'm using inflammatory language on purpose, but
Yeah.
I don't mean anything nasty to you at all in this.
Oh, yeah, because some people do claim that is legitimately sexist to have sexual preferences like that.
Oh,
I've
Really?
heard that, and
well, you can't control who you're attracted to, I don't think. You're just either attracted or not. I'll speak for myself. Never mind. Moving on.
I agree. Gomeo is enjoying the heck out of us. Thank you, Gomeo. We appreciate that.
Well, in the context of the dating app, wouldn't it be discrimination both ways? You're discriminating against certain, and then you're also discriminating for your. And in the case of that, if in Dali's case, he said he likes redheads, he likes gingers. Wouldn't that be a case of positive discrimination? Because
inevitably in romance it's going to be, but discrimination is narrowing the field. Narrowing the field by whatever category you choose. And sometimes we think that's fine, and sometimes we think that's not fine.
And maybe it's different for a personal relationship you're choosing to have with someone versus who you're going to hire as your employee, or
Indeed.
something along that line.
Yeah, I don't think we've steelmanned the case for this particular claim, though. I'd be interested to hear what a steelman would sound like for this claim. I've tried to think. I can't think of, but I might be so subconsciously biased against this claim that it's hard for me to get to hear the opposite side.
We've done redlining. We've done Jim Crow laws. We've done all sorts of systemic standards in the past that some even spill over to now. To fix that, we need to move not just to neutral, because that's only like asymptotically eventually approaching normalcy. And because some members of our society are still pulling the other direction, it never is even going to get to fair. So we have to cross the line onto the other side of fair for a while. Now, how long? Probably a few generations. It was the other way for more than 10 generations. So how about we go the other way for 2 generations, and then let's discuss it.
Yeah, the benchmark for justice is, in terms of racial justice, is equal outcomes by race in proportion to the population. That is if I was steel manning, that side.
Yeah. So if we can look at these racial subgroups that we have previously divided, and once on average they are doing as well as the rest of society, then we can back off on our thing. Otherwise, and once on average, we're not saying every individual, we're not saying everybody gets lifted up. We're saying that an identifiable community becomes as wealthy as the average, and then we can stop preferring them.
Yep. And I have problems with that benchmark as well. That's another reason I'm on disagree.
I'm trying to steel man, and if somebody else can come and give a better steel man, I bow to you. I don't want to oversimplify or say silly things.
All right.
Did anything I say move anybody? Was there any wiggle? Not a bit, just nothing. Okay, so what, hypothetically, this isn't something that exists. This is in a different world than ours. What hypothetically do you think could bring that up? Dax, do you have a hypothetical that could move us?
He wants to steel man.
Hey.
Excellent.
Great.
Okay. Am I coming in okay? Is this good?
You sound good to me.
Okay. So I saw someone in the comments of the stream mention they were talking about this past discrimination, this present discrimination thing, and they said they were talking about how you could have people in the past with inequalities, and let me read that comment. I'm sorry. Let me just go back to the stream. If you just scroll up, somebody made a comment about past inequalities and how you could use affirmative action to raise their income. Hold on a second. I'm so sorry for this because there was an echo when I clicked on this and the live stream. So I wanted to click off the live stream, but now I've got to find it.
Okay, I'm sure there are examples of past inequalities that caused a wealth gap, and it might be
That's
argued
it.
that should receive priority in the hiring process over equally qualified wealthy people.
Yes, that was the comment. So what do you guys think about that?
Poor people should receive.
It seems like I think of people that went through Jim Crow, and it's led to a wealth gap between them and everyone else. So it seems like the government needs to compensate for that, or at least you could make the argument. You could make the argument that they need to compensate for that.
So if I'm the owner of a business, should I then poll all of my workers and find out whether they are poorer, and I get credit for the people that are enough poorer than the average, and I have to have enough of them? Is that like a quota thing? I have to have at least half of my workers are below average in wealth.
I suppose with a quota, I wasn't really thinking about you must have this many poor people at your workplace. I wasn't looking at it that way, but I was looking at it as if you have a choice between hiring a poor person and a person making six figures, and they can both do the job. I can see the argument for how you should prioritize the poor person. Yeah.
Oh, that's already in place.
It is?
That's already the case. Absolutely. If I have the choice to hire somebody who I need to pay six figures, or somebody who I get to pay less than six figures,
I'm
going to grab the cheaper one unless they are markedly inferior.
I don't think that's what he's saying.
That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying you have a person who already makes six figures and somebody who is at the poverty line, you know?
Oh, so I should.
They're equally qualified.
They're equally qualified. They're applying for the same job. Yeah.
Ah.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
Well, then there has to be a way to enforce that. And I don't know how that could happen.
So I need a new doctor in my medical group. and I need someone who is not making as much money because we don't have we need to hire somebody that we're needing to raise their salary by this much for a quota reason. So if a doctor is already making as much money as I'm offering, I can't take them in. Is that right?
No,
Or
I mean,
you could hire someone making significantly less.
yeah,
Hmm.
you could hire someone making less.
And then you'd be obligated to hire that person over the other one,
Yeah,
right?
that is the question, really. Are you obligated to? Do you think that the business or perhaps the government should prioritize those people, especially if we have like a proven history showing that these people have a wealth gap from everyone else?
So you're discriminating against the person with the higher income
Right.
consciously to
Yeah.
give the position to the lower income.
Hmm.
The wealth gap is a kind of output metric measurement. What is the input of the population to compare to other populations? I
I'm
would need to
sorry,
know
I don't
that.
understand. I want to understand you. I just what do you mean?
There's also a wealth gap between whites and Asians. Asians have more wealth, I would assume, because of their certain input.
Yes,
Compared to
this
whites.
we wouldn't be discriminating based on race, right? Like, I don't see a good case for affirmative action on the basis of race. But if you had a person that you could prove by tracing back with their family that they were affected by some sort of institutional measure that created a wealth gap in their family,
Hmm.
then I could see the case for some sort of, I guess you'd call it a diversity hire, but it wouldn't be on the basis of their race. It would be on the basis of this income gap. Not between the whole race, all right? Because, you could have a black person from you could have a rich black person from Nigeria come to America in the 1950s. That would not, they would not qualify for this. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So it has to be someone who can trace it back within their own family.
Yeah, they can trace back in their own family that they were affected by an institutional measure.
Okay. Is this distinct from reparations?
It is, I think. Because when I hear that term, I think of just giving somebody a paycheck because of their race or because of their lineage. I'm not in favor of that.
What if you gave them a
about-
paycheck because they had been disadvantaged within their grandpa time or something?
Yeah, well, that wouldn't solve the gap, just a flat check, That would just be almost pity points to me. It would, it would have to, by employing them, you lift them up out of something, is the way I'm looking at it.
I'm confused about the claim. I assume we're not talking about the only remedy to past discrimination is present discrimination
Correct.
anymore.
We're not.
What are we talking about?
We kind of are talking about that because so this would be a steel man for that claim in a way.
Okay.
At least in this context, the context of income. I wouldn't say that's true in the context of race, but in the context of income, you might need to presently discriminate against higher income people applying for your job to alleviate a past discrimination.
What was that past discrimination for poor people? What's an example of that?
Yeah, I guess there's. Now, I'm sure there's people who know history better than me who maybe can point to more specific classist policies that actually could apply to all poor people, but I don't know of any, I'll admit. But when it comes to certain black people in America or certain other groups of people in America, it seems like there is things you could point to explain their gap. Yeah.
And that would be
Yeah.
racial discrimination.
Yeah, so certain racial discriminatory measures could have affected
Resulted
their
in
yeah,
their present condition.
yeah, yeah,
So if we discriminate against somebody else, that will help them out of their past discrimination situation.
yeah. If we discriminate against the higher income people in the job process, and start lifting up these poor people who were affected, this will help. If they go on to have kids and their kids have kids, they have a much better start on life now. Yeah.
I could assume there's like laws in the past about, well, I'm sure there's current laws about how you need a certain amount of wealth, usually from like deposit amount for mortgages. You need a certain amount of money in order to get more money with loans or mortgages. Is that a form of discrimination against poor people?
I guess it could be argued that, but I see your point that they wouldn't be able to, they wouldn't be able to afford that stuff.
I think that's fair for banks to have that kind of requirement. I wouldn't call that an unjust discrimination. There's risk for a bank.
It's not unjust. Huh.
Yeah, it's hard to say. I can think of a lot of reasons where bad social ideas and unfairness could lead to poverty. And I'm also wanting to distinguish that from, say, other reasons for poverty that aren't somebody else's fault. Do we want to fix that too? Do we want to fix poverty wherever it shows up?
Not wherever it shows up, because sometimes you can earn it, I suppose. Though I do think that our standards for what poverty needs to change. Like, I don't think we should ever find living in a cardboard box like something acceptable that you can just earn in life. I do think that the baseline for bare minimum living needs to be better than what is generally accepted by people today.
Where I live, I can walk a few blocks and find a whole lot of people living in cardboard. It's not so far.
Yeah.
Do we want to, as a society, pull them out of their cardboard and put them into drywall or whatever? I guess what would ever be that standard of living?
Yeah, the bare standard for me would be, essential accommodations being met, like food, shelter, water, the bare minimums of making you decent for daily interactions with people. Not even just, a lot of people say the basics you need for employment, but I know that some people are just unemployable. Some people have mental disorders. But you know how typically you'll see a sign at a gas station. You don't see them much anymore, but no shoes, no shirt, no service. I think everybody should be able to have shoes and a shirt when they walk into a gas station. Not because we make them have it, but because we are that accommodating for everybody.
Cool.
Yeah. But the question is, how do you get that? And that's very complicated. I don't have the answer to that, but I'm wondering if discriminating against people based on income in the hiring process might be a way to get closer to that.
How much would it cost competitive companies?
How much would it cost a company? Well,
competitive company, specifically one that is in a field where margins are tight.
Yeah, in a field where margins are tight. I just
but wouldn't they be getting paid the same
Yeah,
I
they're
think-
getting the same.
I think what
That's-
Dex is saying is all things being equal, experience, merit, whatever.
Yeah.
The person who is in a lower financial status should be preferred over the one that would normally get the job because of maybe,
yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, but would that force down the quality of your workers?
Would that reduce the quality of my workers?
Yes.
If they're equally qualified, I don't see how it could.
Then
The reason you would be doing it is to help the poor people, not because it would help the business.
The only situation I can think of, Dali, is the experience. Someone may be like the merit may be the same and the qualifications may be the same, but the person in a better position may have more experience.
That's
and
true.
therefore-
That's true.
Awesome.
That could be a factor in this.
Dex, I have a question for you.
Okay.
How much of the person's current circumstance would you take into account? Because I heard you mention something about looking at the historical, where they came from historically.
Yeah.
How much of their current situation would you take into account to assess whether or not they should get the job?
I don't suppose I could. At least if I did, that would be a completely different subject from the only remedy to past discrimination is present discrimination. Because like I'm thinking of it from the perspective of, how do we alleviate past discrimination, the wrongs caused by past discrimination? Yeah.
I'm still confused about what the discrimination is for poor people.
Yeah, so it's not against poor people. It's against the poor people alive today who were affected by the past discrimination.
so for
They
your-
are poor
you have to
because of
show-
their past discrimination.
Do you have to
What's
show
the
specific past discrimination, or is that you're poor enough that we would assume that you were?
Oh,
the
no.
victim?
We wouldn't assume, no. So I suppose if it's a black person, they would be able to trace their history of their grandparents living under Jim Crow. And even further back than that, you could look at things like sharecropping.
So
that
racial
would-
discrimination does definitely come into the picture.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah,
If there was some other way, though, if there was some other way you could demonstrate a wealth gap that was not tied to racial oppression, I would equally accept that into the equation of the hiring process. But you've got to be able to show that your past affected your present. Your family's past has affected your present. Yeah.
how much competition? Okay, there's a competitive cost to the company for doing this.
There's because of the experience, you mean? Like the experience difference between the rich person and the poor?
Yeah, you're controlling hiring and asking them to value something that doesn't directly influence the company in a good way.
Yeah.
In the hiring process. Therefore, you're reducing something about the productivity
quality
of
of
the
the
workforce,
business.
maybe?
Yeah, so it might not be workable in practice.
It might
Well,
not be.
I just wanted to throw that out there as
Yeah,
something
yeah.
to talk about.
And I'm with you. I'm not trying to I'm not
Yeah.
trying to argue you out of your position at all. I really
No, no,
appreciate that you're offering this other thing.
Because this is the only thing I can think of where this claim that you have on the board might be reasonable.
Even
only
with
thing
the only in the claim, would this be the only remedy to that past
Would it
discrimination?
be the only? Okay, thank you for pointing that out, Reid. I'm so sorry. That's it's right there on the board. The only remedy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I probably can't agree that it's the only remedy. So, yeah, now that
So
you've
where
just
would you be
pointed
on the
that out,
scale?
I would probably be on slightly disagree. Yeah, or even disagree since it's just only. But I do have to give credit though, like it's such a hard thing to climb out of that wealth gap, especially when if you're trying to do something like in the film industry, if you wanted to be an actor or a screenwriter or a director, that is definitely something where they're looking for people with connections. They want people with connections and experience. Yeah.
What if we change the claim to the best remedy?
Yeah, that's what I was
Past
thinking too.
discrimination is present discrimination.
Yeah, if it was best remedy, I might move closer to neutral.
I'd move-
You're even moving to neutral.
I'm going to go to slightly disagree.
Well, I'm going to reset everybody first.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
I'm still strongly disagree.
Okay. Well, in that case, Reid, what do you think would be the best the best remedy for wealth disparities like that? Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, I don't know. This is that one idea I thought of, and it's not the only idea, but it's an idea. Yeah.
I have a solution if you want.
Okay.
Yeah, my solution would be very rigorous court system, so we make sure we use our current laws on the books, like the 14th Amendment, so we're not discriminating against anyone. Equal opportunity, rigorously enforced through police and the courts. That's the best remedy in my book.
Does that remedy past discrimination though?
If we're measuring
Over time.
it by
over time, it should balance out, is what you're thinking.
I'm not measuring any outcome gaps. All I care about is processes and means. The ends, there can be equal ends, equal.
Yeah. My
and be
side of
unjust.
here. I don't think the way to determine success on discrimination is everybody having the same outcome. I don't think that at all. Yeah. Some people are going to be lower on the income.
It's like every single potential time someone could choose one person over another, I want them to be based on merit and not based on some arbitrary characteristic like race or some immutable characteristic. I agree. Meritocracy, and a meritocratic society would be the best remedy.
Oh, I 100% agree on meritocracy, but I don't think that I think our system pretends to have that, but it may not have that in practice. Like I said, if you're in the movie industry, you're looking at Steven Spielberg to direct your next movie, even though someone else lower income than him with less connections could have equally good ideas for directing your movie. I don't know.
This claim seems to be like a homeopathic remedy. Like, we're going to treat this with more of this. Like, does that remedy the discrimination?
Yeah.
I don't know.
I do think in other cases, like the problem with this claim is that it can be like an infinite loop of discrimination. I've heard people talk about it that way before.
Right. Now a different group is discriminated against. How do you fix that discrimination, which is now in the past? Do we have to discriminate against?
Yeah. The only thing about it with, that's very true when we're talking about other arbitrary traits like race. But with income, if I discriminated against Steven Spielberg for a little while, like his family lineage, his children and his grandchildren, they would still be wealthy. You know what I'm saying? So it's like the way that we would hurt their generation would not hurt in the same way as putting somebody in a cardboard box. You know what I mean?
Wouldn't we hurt ourselves by having not any more Steven Spielberg movies?
That's a way to look at it.
And then do we need to change the claim to past income discrimination to present income discrimination?
Wait, how would that read?
Specify income?
The best remedy to past income discrimination is present income discrimination.
Or class discrimination.
Or class.
Yeah. Like I said, the best way I can steelman that is that the rich people, once you discriminate against them, are not going to be hurt very hard by it.
Right.
I don't see them I don't even see them coming together to make some sort of activist movement for their reparations. I don't see that happening.
Oh, they'll just buy the politicians.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, that might have already happened.
Yeah.
Okay.
So where is everybody? Should we keep this claim or wrap it up with this?
Yeah, I'm gonna head out of the thing
you,
now.
guys.
But thank
Okay,
you.
cool.
I just want to say I've watched Reid's channel, I've watched Dali, I've watched your stuff before. I'm gonna have to learn about Lisa and Gomeo, but you guys are great too.
The road to reflection.
Thank you.
YouTube.
There we go.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for
Links in the
joining us.
description.
Yeah, so Gomeo, put some stuff out so that he can get to know you.
Okay.
Don't take my pressure.
If you want to.
If you want to, if it serves your interests. Yeah. I'm just going to end by saying, if we get rid of all the discrimination, and then to solve all of the past injustice, we take the people the most affected by it and make sure they have a safety net. We got it. By the way, where I live, that's already the case. I don't have to change anything to make that happen. Now, it's unfortunate. There's still a bunch of homeless people, and I'm not sure why they're not in the right part of the system yet. There is a system for them, but maybe the system has crazy rules like thou shalt not ever drink.
Mhm.
That could be a problem. Alec, hold up 2 fingers for me. Alec,
Can you hear
please
us?
hold up
Alex?
2 fingers. Yay!
Yay, Alec.
Welcome, Alec. How are you?
Who's driving? Yeah.
How are you, Alec? You're driving.
Nope, you can't hear us.
And I bet you're listening on 2 different
There you go.
YouTube open.
That's better. Can you guys hear me through the earbuds or no?
I hear you.
Yes.
It's okay.
Okay, the earbuds might not be useful. Yeah, anyways, Dark, I have a claim that there should only be 3 gender pronouns.
3.
Yes, 3.
And
3
they are?
specific gender pronouns. Okay.
Yes, he, she, and then they. Slash them.
He, she, and they.
Yeah.
Okay.
And this is based on the assumption that gender pronouns are generally used to identify or who you are attracted to, along with whether you are generally male or female.
Yeah. So somebody asks, no, him or her. So I'm assuming that you mean that he, him, all those other
She, her.
variations.
Yeah.
Are
They, them.
good. Okay.
Yeah.
Why only they for an alternative?
Should we? Sorry.
Or it could be any third one, but that's just like the common one that people have been using, and it has been historically used. So, why not? People are already familiar with it somewhat. So,
What are other ones that you think should not be used? Just for example.
like the ones that starts with an X, I think they're like 0.
Oh.
Generally anything that's not part of the he, him, she, her, they, them.
Okay. I'm going to go with slightly disagree for myself. Alec, I'm assuming that you are on where do you find yourself on the agree side?
Yeah.
Okay. Are you slightly or strongly or just agree?
I think I'm on agree.
Okay.
Put me down for strongly disagree.
Okay.
Because use whatever you want. It doesn't affect my life. So
Keep me on neutral.
All right. My reason is that I think I'm leaning towards only he, him, and she, her should be the only pronouns. I'm skeptical about they, them, because I'm also skeptical about the concept of non-binary,
Well,
which is what usually people with non-binary people usually use they, them, and I don't think non-binary is a wise category to label yourself with.
When you say skeptical, Reid, what do you mean by that?
I don't think it would be. I don't know. I just don't think the pros outweigh the cons for labeling yourself as non-binary, and therefore using they them as pronoun. And this does not relate to trans, because trans usually you just switch the pronouns.
Right.
What about y'all?
What do you think, Alec?
Well,
Why do you take this opinion?
Generally because humans are dichotomous species. Males and females generally act differently. Straight males usually generally act differently than or treat females, and they act differently than not straight, like non-cis or males and females. This is in generalities, but in all walks of life, there are essentially three broad categories: males, not males, people that look and act like men, liking men, are ones that like women, and then women on that other side, and then people that are people that like both men and women, or none.
So are you combining sexual orientation and gender identity?
Yes, just because for me that's how it seems to be generally used.
I have lots of personal experience to the contrary.
Same.
But that's just me putting in my 2 cents on the question of gender preference and gender identity going together. I just have a lot of counterexamples. That I need to make that important.
I could say to clarify, essentially people that at the very least try to look and act like men, whether they are males or not, liking other people that look and act like men, or liking other people that look and act like women. They don't specifically have to be males, but just people that act or try to look like one, whether they have to put effort in it or not.
So I am an atheist, and a lot of theists would say that means I am declaring that I know that God does not exist. And I argue back, but I'm an agnostic atheist. I'm leaning against God. What if I am an agnostic? What if I'm agnostic about my gender?
I would just put you in the they them category, just because there are so few of those people. As far as I know, you could just lump them into that category, just because for societal reasons, it's just convenient.
Okay, how many people do we need in society before we allow them to have a distinct category?
I would say enough that most people. I would say enough that most people would encounter. Not encounter. Enough most people would essentially talk to these people on a normal basis. If it's only a couple percent, then there's a small chance that a lot of people will actually interact enough with this small sliver of people.
I think my
how many
reasons are pushing against Reid more than you, Alex. So I hope that's obvious. I'm pushing against Reid's rejection of agender people, but he and I can arm wrestle over it later.
Yeah, I just allow, being a man or a woman. I want to have those categories be more open and less constraining. I don't want gender stereotypes to be connected to man or woman. You can be a man or a woman and pretty much go with any, stereotypical gender role.
Sure.
Or,
presentation.
Wearing, a dress as a male does not make you less of a man.
Okay. What if I would like you to please and this is not the case, this is just hypothetically, what if I would really appreciate it if you would stop ever treating me like a man, but not start treating me like a woman?
What does that mean?
I don't know what that means. Yeah.
Pronouns.
Okay.
Oh,
Oops,
lost
we lost
connection.
him. He drove out of the range.
The sound
Sorry.
was getting tough to hear.
Yeah, the sound was tough. Sorry, Alec. But thank you for bringing this notion to us. It gives us fodder for agreement and disagreement. So, Lisa, you
Yeah.
are on the other side of Reid from me, and yet
Mhm.
I think you agree with me more. How did we work that out?
I think the claim allows you to restrict it to just those two or expand it.
Yes.
3.
He, him, she, her, and they, them should be the only pronouns.
Alex was asserting 3 pronouns. I think Reid is
Mhm.
asserting 2 pronouns.
Yeah, so it's just different reasonings or different responses to the claim.
Gomeo, are you willing to stand up on this one, or is this just too
I
weird?
don't care if there's more. Reid would prefer if there's less.
Has anyone
Yeah.
persuaded you?
The reason why I'm on neutral is because I don't have a strong opinion on this.
Mm-hmm.
And none of the reasons I've heard really sway me one direction or the other.
Okay.
So it's not that I'm not willing to stand. Just I don't know.
And I would have used to disagree just because of the they, them. Like, I wouldn't want that included. I would just want she and him, he or she, and just keep it as the binary. That's where I would have been 6 years ago plus.
Okay.
What made you change your mind, Lisa? What was the reason you started
Getting
including they, them?
to know people and starting to do some scientific research and going to a lot of therapy with a gender therapist and learning about how the gender spectrum works and how different people are just different places on the spectrum. And it literally doesn't affect my life, how somebody else wants to live their life. And I am supportive, whatever they choose. I'm here for them.
Right.
And I hope they do the same for me. Cis, straight, white male. I mean, woman. Sorry, I'm not a male.
Please hold up the number of fingers that you think we should have gender pronouns.
What's that?
Luke Hinnis is in the green room.
Yeah.
I want to see some video so I know it's a real person. And could you hold up the number of fingers that you think should be the number of appropriate pronouns? I mean, I think I'm making it clear that my answer is at least 3.
3 plus?
At least 3, yes. And Reid is 2.
2.
And I respect your opinion. You're just wrong, but whatever.
And also learning about biology, how chromosomes work and how intersex works. So.
Reid, when you hear Lisa say all that, does any of that make you move at all? Either like further away or closer to neutral, or even agree?
I don't think so.
Not really.
Okay. What would be your counter to what Lisa just, the reason she gave?
It is a biological factor of humans and animals. There are intersex.
Yeah, I think sex is binary for humans, and intersex doesn't disqualify that categorization because most intersex people end up either male or female.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But gender expression is usually very cultural, depending on where you grow up and how your parents raise you. So I would like to see less of that gender identity being forced upon kids or being assumed at a child's birth. Just because I know trans people and I know non-binary people, and I've seen the inner turmoil that they've gone through to try to figure out how to live their life and be accepted in society.
most important thing for me is I've seen my trans friends get much happier once they've transitioned.
Once they transition. Absolutely.
There's a huge difference in their long-term happiness. And
Go from extremely
That's-
suicidal and always down to now I can function.
And for some of those, that doesn't mean that they cross. That means
Mhm.
that they go into a different zone. They go
Right.
into
But I just seen
Either
kids, when kids are allowed to experiment with different feelings that they have and different identities and wear different clothing and wear makeup and nail polish and not be shamed for it and just be whoever you want to be.
I've got a grandchild who's currently picked a fight with their parents about that.
And the parents say, no, that's for girls.
It is they, them. Thank you.
Mhm.
Parents disagree. It's their fight.
Yeah,
All right, we're done with this claim.
Sure.
move along.
And all friends, even.
Yeah.
Because I'm okay if Reid's just wrong.
Mhm.
Yep. It's not uncommon. Yeah, we
All
have
right,
another
we're
caller.
still taking callers. Don't know yet. We have 18 people watching. Anybody out there, feel free to call in with your
Yeah,
own claim.
Gina says, go ahead.
You go ahead.
I was just going to read Gina's comment. They are just outwardly expressing themselves in a more authentic way. And living, as a person who lived my life inauthentically for 44 years, I know the difference it makes when you try to be someone else and be who someone else expects you to be. It just causes depression and anxiety and makes you not want to live. So I want to support others to live in their most authentic way too, whatever that looks like to them. Yeah. Agree with Gina.
Whether that's a skirt or a kilt.
I don't care. Yeah. Wear what you want. I don't care if you're 2 years old or 92.
The nudists want a word. No, sorry. Change the subject.
Don't wear clothes. See, I don't care about that either. Go for it. Just, don't be weird about it.
Okay. Abe, show me some video, please. I want to see
this
a
again.
camera.
Yes, please.
Oh,
Ooh, device is not connected. Okay, well, work on that. That's cool. Let's see.
Want to do your prisoner's claim, Dali?
Sure. Let's see. I want first to define slavery.
what's the claim?
Well, what is the claim?
Yes. Okay, the claim first. My claim is that the United States still has slavery, that we never successfully abolished slavery, and that by one definition that you might agree with about slavery, we enslave more by per capita than any other developed country.
And
There's
I think it
more
relates to this.
slaves in America
Yeah, there are more slaves in America
than
in
any other.
developed country. Yeah.
So, what makes prisoners slaves in this claim? What's the context?
I think a slave is somebody who is incarcerated in the sense that their freedom is removed. They are restricted to where they're allowed to live or move, and they are punished if they don't comply with labor, or they are paid in the sense of if they do their labor well, they get out sooner. So they're not doing the labor for the pittance that they're being paid. Another example of slavery is if you are paying them a lot less than minimum wage. My understanding is it's about 1 to 5% of minimum wage what prisoners in prison industries are paid. And there's lots of reasons like, well, we have to take out their food and their thises and their that's, and those were excuses slave owners have used for a long time. So I think a lot, not all, of incarcerated people in this country are in fact slaves.
Except as a punishment for crime. So isn't that a punishment for their crime?
Well, yeah. What would you change about the prison system to still punish crime but get rid of slavery?
Have it not be labeled as slavery.
I need to remove the economic incentive for the government or the prison owner to get labor from the incarcerated population. If we're going to incarcerate somebody, it needs to be at our social expense, not our social benefit. The profit motive means that we incarcerate something a little over 1% of our population, and that is about 3 or 4 times the world average.
Which incentivizes having prisoners in the first place?
It incentivizes prisoners in long prison sentences and third strike laws and extreme sentence length.
Mm-hmm.
And then trading back half of that because they were good workers. They get out sooner if they cooperate with being slaves.
If they're good slaves.
Yeah, the bad slaves have to stay in twice as long.
So what's the definition of slaves?
In my case, I say a definition of a slave is someone who is incarcerated, or I should say their freedom of movement is severely restricted, and they have not a choice about what labor they're going to do. They're not on an open market for labor or something. They have one job, and they are not paid reasonable amounts on that job.
Mm-hmm.
So, Rosemary, I recognize you right away as a real person.
Hello.
I recognize some of those other people as real people too, but
An actual real person.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Welcome.
So that's what I want to call a slave. And
Yeah.
There is a component of punished if they don't cooperate. If it were entirely voluntary and there were nothing negative except that you don't get the pay, I would let it go. Anyway, that's my claim.
I think Parisia makes a good point in his question. Are there any other forms of forced? Yeah, that one.
Absolutely, conscription is also slavery by my definition. Jury duty is so temporary that I don't want to include it. It's a minor thing, and so I want to include it for special pleading reasons.
What about the 12-year-old whose mom says you have to do the dishes before you go out?
Yes,
That
children are
form
slaves.
of slavery?
Yes, many
Children are slaves?
By that definition.
Yes.
So
many
slavery is
children
not
are
that bad.
My pets are slaves.
This is a
What work
very broad definition of slavery to me.
Yeah, if I start talking about non-humans, obviously I'm really stretching for it. But by similar rules, my pets are slaves. But I'm kind of okay with the pet slave thing. I don't have a choice. I don't have a better system. I don't have that perfect world from our first caller.
Right.
This is purely a definition thing for you, right, Dali?
It's a strong political issue. If I was ever going to get up on a soapbox and actually do political activism, it would be on anti-slavery, which would include conscription, which would include the right to abortion.
Right.
And
I also think forcing somebody to complete a pregnancy is slavery.
Wow.
what do you think, Rosemary?
I jumped on. I agree with Dali here of like how our system was set up. That the whole problem with the 13th Amendment is it was created the conditions to continue the slavery, even though it was outlawed. And that's why if you look at our structures and who's most imprisoned, we really haven't stopped since the Civil War. It's just taken a different form.
So the racial slavery comes back into
It's-
it
Yeah,
as well.
it's not, yeah. If you just look at the percentage of the population by race that's incarcerated, there's a huge disparity.
Is a disparity necessarily an injustice?
Yes, it can be. I mean, and in this case, it's looking at historical context of the United States. So if you're looking at the post-Civil War era and the laws that were created, a lot of Jim Crow laws, a lot of those things were created to disenfranchise the Black community, to keep them from participating in voting. And one way you do that is to put them in prison, but you also get free labor from prison. And obviously, at a certain point, because you have prisoners of all races, the slavery applies to all races, but there is a historical link that's unique to the United States that would fit that back all together.
What are the most common products or services that prisoners produce?
I'm undereducated on this.
Yeah.
License plates are like the classic.
Yeah, or chain gangs, like
stereotype of
cleaning
it.
the highway.
Yeah, highway repair, rock breaking, whatever kind of chain gang. work.
Firefighting in California.
Really?
Yep.
Firefighting. Wow.
Firefighting the wildfires in California is done by prisoners.
My son used to be a firefighter, and that was a hell of a job and kind of dangerous and a whole bunch of things. The firefighter wildfires, not structure.
Is that
Yeah,
an opt-in type
wildfires.
of job?
Oh,
I
his one,
think
yeah.
it is for the prisoners, but the problem is a lot of them want to do it when they get out, and they get excluded from being firefighters once they get out because they had been in prison.
What?
Okay, that's just gross.
It isn't it? Yeah, it's
Oh.
the most absurd. Yeah,
So
Like,
they have
they
experience.
get-
They know how to do it,
they-
but they say,
they know
nah,
how to do it.
we don't
They
want you.
find meaning in it, but then
They
the
enjoy
very
it.
fact that they were in prison, they were incarcerated, it hurts their chances of getting hired.
My son sure found meaning in it. He's like all over he's all up in that stuff. He loves it, and
Yeah.
I think he's a hero.
He is.
My son's a
But
hero.
I
I
was-
won't hear a word against it.
The other reason I bring it up in the way that I did is because I was thinking about what Reid said earlier about using the court system to end discrimination. And we just have so many decades of using the court system to
Perpetuate it.
prolong the discrimination, perpetuate. It's very hard to get out of those systemic ingrained things. And court systems aren't always the best way to get justice. And Reid knows that I'm familiar with this.
Yeah.
So yeah. Yeah. So that's why I jumped on. I thought it was a good claim, and I just finished doing dishes. So
And I think the courts suck at a way of establishing good rights for people because they can just change their mind after 50 years.
that's
Damn it.
that's been a big
Legislature,
problem.
get on it.
Well, look at
Yeah.
Brown versus the Board of Education. It took less than a decade for them. It was like a few years later they took all the teeth out of Brown. So yeah, it doesn't
Yep,
take very long at all.
And, yep, we are.
So,
I mean,
Dali, I
I
have
would
a
want
question.
to. Go ahead.
Oh, just about the 12-year-old kid who doesn't want to do his chores.
Yeah.
Because now he can claim, I'm a slave. You can't treat me like this.
You can't? You can.
Well, if you're advocating against any kind of slavery, wouldn't that be something to factor in?
I'm not saying that all slavery is universally bad, just because.
Oh, okay.
I am saying that I want us to recognize
Some forms.
that slavery
Still exists.
Slavery still exists. Slavery can be abjectly cruel. Slavery is something we need to be very, very careful about. Like, we have rules against me torturing my animals. Okay, good. So that puts a limit on that slavery. And I can't really get rid of that slavery.
Right.
I have child protective services and lots and lots and lots of laws to help protect children from abuse, so that the slavery thing that they're under doesn't become too odious. And I think we should
It's an acceptable form of slavery.
maybe,
Okay.
but to the degree that it's slavery, is the degree in which it is.
It still fits within the
Corruptible.
definition.
Yeah, it's a corruptible thing, and we have
Mhm.
to really decide that we need it, like conscription, like
Right,
jury
right.
duty.
Yeah.
Yeah, and jury duty is this big, and conscription is this big, and the ones in the penitentiary are 30 years long,
Mhm.
like that.
The
So-
ability for it to be taken advantage of. I guess parents
Yeah.
could take advantage of that situation too, though,
A lot of them do.
which a lot of them do. The
And we have
foster
child
system.
labor laws, and we have lots and lots of ways to try
Yeah.
to something. But
Yeah.
the reality is,
We do our best.
we take away their choices.
Mhm.
What about the comparing these two definitions? I would want to add
Okay.
this part of innocent adult humans.
Mm.
That throws out conscription.
What is innocent of what?
Like non-criminal
Oh,
of crimes.
so someone either born into a system or inserted somehow.
Yeah.
How many people in the prison system are actually innocent?
A couple percent,
So-
right?
Yeah.
Less than what? I don't know. Innocent. Less
Didn't
than
commit the crime
5%?
they were convicted of.
So are just some, like, because then some of the people in the prison system would be slaves under that definition. But it doesn't really matter what percent,
A few.
but that
Yeah.
we know
Right.
they exist.
Some.
And
It
More
would
than
be
one.
much less.
And if
One
you
or
will take
more.
drug laws as valid or invalid, would completely change the numbers for you.
Yep. that
Drug
would
laws? Oh,
change
yeah.
it a whole-
Yeah, if
Yeah.
the only thing that they're criminal on is possessing something that they put inside themselves, I would say they are innocent of harming anybody else.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So stupid
Now,
laws.
What
people
did
usually
innocent
think
mean?
of felony.
Yeah.
Yeah, innocence of, like, people often think of felony, like anybody's a felon, oh, they're dangerous. It's like, no, it just means they had incarceration of more than 1 year or more than 2 years. It has nothing to do with the nature of the crime. It's the length of the sentence. So a lot of these drug crimes are felonies, but they're for really de minimis types of things.
And they're not a threat to society.
What would you say is innocent? I would.
Haven't
This
committed
is my
any.
definition of innocent.
Don't we all break like 67 crimes every day or laws?
Yeah, nobody was innocent at this point then.
Yep.
If you've ever sped, you've broken a law.
I didn't
Maybe.
put on my blinker when I changed lanes today.
Okay, how about this definition? Haven't been convicted of any crimes?
No.
That's
I
my
don't know,
definition of
like-
innocent.
If you
Innocent.
again, you can be convicted and still be innocent.
Mhm.
Could be a false.
You could be not convicted and guilty AF.
And it could be, yep.
True.
Mhm.
Definitely some good
Right.
cases of that. Yeah, innocence one of those like interesting trigger words. It's just like with the abortion debate, calling them, the child in the womb. You're hurting someone innocent, and that's wrong. It's like that you're just playing with emotions there.
Mhm.
And maybe we're doing that same thing if we put innocent into the definition of a slave. What kind of emotional baggage are we adding to the definition?
Right.
This is it. Hasn't committed the crime they're charged with.
That would be a good
That
definition.
would be innocent of that particular crime.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So I guess the question is here: is it okay to enslave somebody as long as they have committed anything you define as a felony?
Some felonies are dumb.
Yep.
A just crime then?
What is a just crime?
Murder? Like what? Well, I mean, like it is a good thing
Murder.
that it is a
Oh.
crime.
So is it okay
Okay.
to enslave somebody who has committed a murder?
If I murder the person who molested my child, is that moral or immoral?
Probably moral, but criminal. And I'm thinking
Definitely
criminal.
criminal
Yeah.
Mhm.
and a convictable offense for sure.
But it would be more moral to arrest them.
yes,
So
sure.
let's conflate the conscription thing. What if we took everybody that's convicted of a felony and just made them serve a year in Ukraine?
Doing what?
Oh, being a conscript, being a military conscript, yeah, going in war and having their, having an 18% chance of dying by gunshot.
Would the type of felony they committed matter?
White collar?
How about just violent criminals? Let's make them hard to be okay with. Let's make them what is it called? You can't feel sorry for them. So we send all of the kitty fiddlers
Hmm.
and anybody convicted of defrauding more than 10 people out of more than $1 million each. No, I don't know.
Turn them into slaves
Yeah, turn them into slaves. In this case, conscripts
for
And-
our benefit
for our benefit, and
against their will.
they have to go catch bullets in a war.
That's the punishment doesn't fit the crime probably for most crimes.
Okay, so just kitty fiddling and murder.
Oh, kiddly fiddling. Yeah, that's
Kitty
okay.
fiddling and murder. Yeah, just those. That's okay to send them out to get mowed down by machine guns. Okay.
I don't know.
I'm trying to make it sound as bad as possible here.
Yeah.
Really,
To find out where the line is.
slippery slope argument by saying these are very similar to each other in a way that overlaps.
I would say the risk of more kiddly fiddling is not worth the conscripting of them because they could just escape and fiddle more kids.
In a war-torn country as well. Yeah.
Yeah, especially in a war-torn country.
Right.
Yeah. Quaid mentions you could end up in jail for disturbing the peace and obstruction of justice, and I think vagrancy
Mhm.
might be an example of essentially being the wrong person in the wrong time at the wrong time of night.
Mhm.
So when we're in this situation where we can't agree on the definition of slave, what do we do?
Oh. In this case, I don't ask that you agree to my definition of slave. All I would
Okay,
ask is that you would say, take an example, like in this case, we said people who did at least murder can be sent to the battlefield and risk their life.
What if they don't want to?
Let's assume they don't want to.
Because they won't want to. Nobody wants to, right?
Yeah, let's assume that it's a
Some
Some
consensual.
might, yeah.
Do that. Oh, yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
I said
And
no.
in this case, I don't need you to agree with even the word slave, just the cause and effect and what's right or not.
Yeah.
I'm saying you will do what I tell you to do,
Mhm.
or else you will be punished.
Putin has found you guilty of saying anti-Putin things.
Anti-Putin.
Anti-Putin things, yeah. I understand that gets 15 years.
15 years.
Yeah, publicly disagreeing with Putin can get you 15 years.
Wow.
Not in my country.
Automatic felony. Yeah.
I would say this second definition is a worse thing to happen than the first definition.
Which one?
The enforced labor, or the no choice of labor, or the very low pay labor, and the punishment if not cooperation of innocent adult humans. And by innocent, we mean they hasn't committed the crime that should be a crime that they're charged with.
They're not guilty of what they're charged.
Okay.
Not only not guilty, they're innocent. Yeah, they definitely
Yeah.
have not committed the crime.
Innocent.
Okay.
That is a worse thing than just people who are not innocent, who are guilty.
Mm-hmm.
Strongly
So-
agree.
I agree with
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah.
But what if you think they're guilty, but they are actually innocent because they've been convicted?
Then I'm fine with saying that's a more of like a slave thing.
Mm-hmm.
Is it a good thing? If they're
What?
guilty of the crime, is it a good thing to put them in a forced labor factory?
Well,
Yeah, it's not that bad.
Okay, acceptable thing.
what if these people that were guilty of whatever particular crime they were accused of, we had some kind of magic pill that we gave to them and would turn them into perfect citizens of society? Would you still then be for punishing them and making
No.
them serve a certain duration of time, or give them the pill and
Pill.
it's interesting.
So
Vengeance is not a good in and of itself, probably, if we could fix the problem.
If that was an option, that'd be cool.
So this is just an intervention that solves the urge to do bad. Is that right? Whatever that crime was, it would just, they would no longer want to do that crime. Okay.
Right.
I'm thinking of this guy who with the tumor and the clock tower,
Mhm.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
the tumor and the kitty porn.
Yeah.
Those are such clear answers to me of
Correctly.
there's a direct medical intervention that solves it, and we can sit back and go, okay, so screw free will, screw personal responsibility. We're just going to say, okay, you said you're sorry, we trust you're not going to do it again, we're just going to let this one go, and that's a good thing.
Yeah. Going back to the example that was used earlier about what if someone murdered my child and I got vengeance on them.
Uh-huh.
Morally might
But you
be
gave
okay,
them
but
The pill
criminally it's
before.
not. Yeah. Would you still be okay with giving them the pill and fixing them, or would you
And
want
now
some
they're
extra
not a
details?
threat to anybody else.
The parent who murdered
Yes.
the of their child,
Well,
they're not
I
going to
didn't
do
even
it.
think of that.
They're not going to do it again anyway. They only had the one child.
And that assumes
You're not,
that we
the
know
situation's not going to recur, so they're good, right?
Hmm.
vigilante justice is not as rigorous in determining who actually causes, committed the crime. We could be wrong about the person actually who, did it. We're not going to get a trial going to make sure we're right.
I had a friend
Right.
who fell and banged her head up, and one of her relatives showed up and said, "You tell me who I'm gonna go," and she had to say, like, "It wasn't his fault. This wasn't somebody who did this to me. I slipped. What are you doing?" So
Mm.
no vigilante justice was dispensed that day, but it was this close.
Yeah, that's the problem
Right.
with the mob mentality, right? Get people worked up about
Yeah.
stuff.
Should we bring Abe on and talk about another claim,
Okay.
or just
We've
it's
only
like
got
we like to do?
6
We have
minutes.
5 minutes. We have 6 minutes
5
left.
minutes.
We can do a quickie.
I'm fine with that. Should we keep it to just one person with the panel, or do you want to? We'll stick around. You can stick around,
Rosemary's
Rosemary.
honorary panelist.
Yeah.
Hello,
Hey.
Abe.
Hi, Abe.
You hear us okay?
G'day. How you going?
Hey,
Welcome.
Another Australian.
Fellow Aussie.
Yep. Yeah, mate.
hey.
What's going on, Covers?
Good morning.
Be a bit late. Yeah, be a bit late for you guys, wouldn't it? Maybe.
Getting there a little bit.
It's not bad. It's not dark yet for me.
Not for
Yeah.
me.
Oh, yeah. Cool.
Yeah. I'm in Los Angeles.
Yeah. I don't know. I've been just listening along, and I agree with a lot of what you guys say a lot of the time, but there's times where it seems to be that you're focusing on the wrong problem. So I'm going to throw out there that education is actually the key to solving poverty. It's the key to solving crime to a degree. Obviously, there's going to be people that are damaged, but if we can educate people and being aware of how they're damaged, then I think that's the go. Same thing, a pedophile who has harmed children. I don't know. Can I say that word? Yeah, cool. I don't know. They need to just be dealt with. I'm sorry. I don't have any compassion there. One who hasn't, though, should be allowed to come forward and receive treatment if they've caused no harm. And I think an education and a more open acceptance of people being able to come forward and say how they're damaged is way more important than trying to isolate whether there's been things in the past that has set them to a disadvantage now. That's a lot of words. Sorry, I couldn't break that down easier. Yeah, okay, cool.
Nice.
I'm agree. I'm somewhere between agree and strongly agree.
Yeah, I'm gonna
a half
relate to
step.
strongly agree.
Yeah, I'm also strongly agree.
Put me on agree.
Because a lot of that is this intergenerational trauma and problems that just keep getting passed down from generation to generation. And until that cycle is broken and the kids or adult kids learn a new way to do things.
Well, that's both in the US and Australia. We have effectively, what do you call it, kin punishment or generational crime, in the fact that if you put someone in prison, their children are then disadvantaged and their options are crime or, unless they're really smart. Or like me, I grew up from a poor family. I'm a high school dropout and I joined the military as a Christian ready to die in war. Before I went to war and got educated. But yeah.
Where would you be on this scale, Abe?
Oh, well, this is strongly agree for me. I think this is the one answer to the whole world, to be honest. I think better, cleaner education is what's going to solve most problems in the world.
So if we all agree that this is a really good solution, can we think of what's the next best solution? I'm assuming that it's not the only solution.
That's a good question. I like that.
A good police system and a good welfare system?
Yeah.
And a criminal justice system.
We're
I'll
talking
just say
about
criminal
specifically crime and
Yeah,
poverty.
police and criminal justice, they have to both work or it doesn't work.
Yeah, they shouldn't be allowed to be bought too. Like what's happened with the Sacklers in the US. They purchased their way out of being criminals.
Right.
And it all depends on what you mean by solve crime and poverty. What does that mean?
Yeah, no, good point. Reduce to the point where there's no agitating factors.
What does that mean?
So crimes that occur from that point aren't caused by someone being in poverty or someone suffering unavoidable injustice. Yeah, no, avoidable injustice. Apologies.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you. I would think for me the line of solving crime is that I have a less than 1% chance of losing my life or fortune due to crime through my life. That would for me be like, that's pretty solved. Less than 1%. I mean, people might have a different line, but like that. And the poverty question is nobody's starving and nobody has to be out on the street living in cardboard.
Yep. Okay, if we all agree, I've kind of ruined this on you, haven't I?
Not at all. No. This is
Well-
a weird kind of SE where we stand and without getting defensive with each other or pointing and yelling, we could talk about the reasons to move one way or the other. Sometimes we all end up on one line or one little cluster, and we could ask for steel men, but if we agree.
Well, and the next step that we might disagree on is how to implement the education and the best way to do that on a
Yeah.
big scale.
That would be a longer talk.
We don't have
Yeah.
time for that.
No, we don't have time today. So we're done.
And of the things that help solve crime and poverty, what percent is education in that pie?
Mhm.
Mm.
I don't know.
And
I don't know
particular
how many
things,
people have asked the question.
yeah. And focusing on crime and focusing on poverty, those are two different subjects too. So, like,
Yeah.
really, that needs to be split up as well.
Well, yeah, I think they can be linked quite often. I know for my
Mhm.
childhood they were.
But not necessarily.
I'm not admitting to any crimes openly, but my childhood was poverty, living in what we call housing commission in Australia. So I grew up single mother, multiple brothers and sisters, poorest of the poor, and we had to dig our way out of that.
Mhm.
And I'm not saying we did any crimes, but it would have made us capable of getting above that by doing crimes and not being caught.
Mhm. Mhm.
I love this one.
Challenge.
Would you change your mind on the education and crime connection if, prior to World War II, when most people did not finish high school, crime was much lower?
Yes.
Yeah, that would move me.
On crime, yeah.
No, I disagree.
Do you disagree that crime was lower, or that this
No,
would be
that
evidence that should move
that
you?
would be evidence. So sorry, my statement here is that populations were different. We're talking about a squished environment. It's like my chance of being harmed in a massive US city is far, far higher than in the country, yeah?
Mhm.
So if you lower
No.
population, crime goes down proportionately, I think. Or inverse square. I'd have to double check that, sorry. But yeah.
How does
Population density does have an impact on it because there's more poor in a more closely packed area.
what does that
I'd
have to
have
do
to
with
see.
education levels?
Okay. Well, it's an agitating factor, I think, because I'm talking about education being the only key now with population as is. If we were to go back and see that crime was lower, I don't know. I should say I don't know. I don't know how the percentages of crime track with population. So
Mhm.
I couldn't agree that lower population is I couldn't agree that the lower population prior to World War II had less crime because of lower education. I don't think those two can necessarily be linked with our research.
Mhm. Fair enough.
Thank you. I'm going to go research that between because
Yeah, that's really
I'm
interesting.
going to have to look it up
otherwise
myself. To be
me
honest.
coming back with stuff from the internet would be messaging. So
And maybe we can save that for another time because our time is up.
our time is up.
Yes, we are.
Thank you. Our next call-in show is where I'm going to be Los Angeles centric and say noon on Saturday. If you're on the East Coast of the U.S., that'll be 3 p.m. on Saturday. For you guys in Australia, when
Figure
is
it
that?
out.
I don't know.
Be like 5 a.m. for us, I think.
It up. Yeah, it's
5 a.m.
early this morning. So no,
Set your alarms.
we're discriminating against Australians on Saturday, and that's going to be our next show.
Oh, come on, you can sleep later. That's fine.
Hey, if I wake up in time,
Take a
I'll
nap.
definitely be on.
Yes.
We are so happy to have Australia friendly times during the week whenever we can.
Yeah, no, this was super cool. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Love
Love
Thank
to
you.
see you.
Thanks
All
for
right, I'll
calling
jump out.
in, Abe.
Have a good one.
Thank you.
Cool.
All right,
Thanks for
that's all.
joining us, Rosemary.
Setting us
absolutely.
off. So Rosemary, send us off. Tell us the thing.
Send you.
Send us off.
Goodbye. It's good meeting everybody.
That works.